When we think life is being unfair to us, we need to remind ourselves that this unfairness that we're going through, it will lead us to something better than we could ever imagine. Whenever you're in that moment where you're saying, life is throwing everything at me, it's not being fair, this quote can help to remind you that the bad things that happen, those unfairness in life, will put us directly on the path to the best things that will happen to us. So I hope with this episode, I can teach you and I can help you to realize that in that time of unfairness, you can use the idea that something good, something great will come out of this to help you get through that bad time, that unfairness. I don't know if you all know, but Inky Johnson is a motivational speaker, one of the few that I look up to. But I want to tell you a little bit about his story because his unfairness helped him get something better than he could ever imagine. So he played football for the University of Tennessee, and he was playing a corner and had the opportunity to go to the NFL draft. Well, in his last season at the University of Tennessee, he was injured. He hurt his shoulder where he lost feeling and movement in all of his arm. That was unfair, right? That's not fair. That doesn't happen to everyone. That happens to a few people, so it's unfair that he had that happen to him. But what came out of that? He is now one of the best motivational speakers in the world. And he says in some of his speeches that the best thing that happened to him was his injury. How can that be? How can it be that the unfairness that life threw at him can turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to him? So that just goes to show just one story through someone else. Sometimes that those bad things in life will put us on a path directly to the best things that will ever happen to us. Some people are dealt certain hands. You may get a royal flush, or you may get a 2 and a 5 and someone else gets a royal flush. But it's not about the cards you're dealt, it's about how you play the cards you're dealt. If any of you watch poker, you can see that sometimes an ace king or sometimes a queen king gets beat by a 2 and a 4 or a 8 and a 6. So it's not about the cards you're dealt, it's how you play the cards you're dealt. Life will be unfair. It might be unfair that you were dealt a bad card, and it's all about how you respond and play those cards. Some people may start ahead of you in life. They might have a great family, a wealthy family, a great opportunity to go to great schools. Whatever it may be, life's not about the start, it's about the finish. That might be unfair that they started in front of you, but you can use that as an advantage of, I know what it's like to be here and I never want to be here again. So yes, life was unfair, but now that unfairness is getting put into something way better than I could ever imagine in life. Going through a time of unfairness, it will be tough to see the future. We will always be upset and we will want life to be fair. But we must be able to put that time in perspective. So I want to give you an example, a personal example. I play football at the University of Kansas. I have never played a snap here at KU on the field in a game. Is that unfair? Maybe. It might be unfair. And not gonna lie, I used to feel as if it was unfair, that I wasn't playing because I was doing everything I needed to do to play. I was putting in on the time. I was putting in the extra work. How I see it now is maybe it wasn't in the cards of life I was dealt. Who knows? I don't know the cards I was dealt. But maybe in my cards that God had for me, He didn't intend me to play. But what I do know is this. With me being able to see perspective and see the outside, I can tell that this unfairness I'm being dealt with is going to lead me to something bigger than I could ever imagine. So if something happens to you, your heart gets broken, you get fired, you get cut, you lose a friend or a family member, I want you to take the time to grieve. I want you to take the time to get upset. That is okay. I'm not saying you have to be this hard man, hard woman that doesn't ever get upset. No, you can be upset and you can grieve. It's okay. But what isn't okay is to live in that cycle of despair and self-pity, believing that life is unfair, that I can never do anything to change it. It's just the way that my cards were dealt. Take the time to be upset, but do not live in that for the rest of your life. You must be able to get back up and be brave and keep going. Keep moving forward. And I want to say this too, because we could fall into this trap of believing that life is unfair just to me. I'm the only one facing something unfair. But newsflash, everyone has faced unfairness in life. Everyone. Even those that you don't think have. Those at the top who seem as if they have it all figured out. Or your friend or your family who always seems to be happy and have it all figured out, have everything laid out in life. Life will knock everyone down at some point. Life isn't fair. Just like the title of this episode, life isn't fair. But what is fair is the way you can get back up. Everyone has the same opportunity to face the challenge. Once they get knocked down, now some knockdowns may be worse than others, and I understand that. But what I'm saying is, you have the same opportunity as the person next to you to get right back up. You can either stay down and let the unfairness in life overtake you and ruin your life, or you can decide to get up and keep moving. You can get up and have the courage to understand that life isn't fair. But that won't stop me from living the life I want to live. I might be dealt a 2 and a 6, but that's not going to stop me from doing this. That's not going to stop me from doing that. Why? Because it's like I said at the beginning, it's not about the cards you're dealt, it's about how you play the cards you're dealt. So you might be having a 2 and a 6, and that's completely okay. But have the realization that that 2 and a 6 isn't going to stop me from living the life I want to live. So my challenge for everyone listening this week, have the courage and the faith to be able to realize that life isn't fair. It took me time to realize that life isn't fair. I used to get upset. I used to be mad at the world because I wasn't getting what I wanted. I wanted to play. I wasn't getting it. And I thought life was unfair. I believed as if life was unfair because I wasn't playing. But then I came to the realization I had the courage and I had the faith to be able to say, life isn't fair, but that isn't going to stop me from living out what I want to do. And I'm not going to sit in my self-pity for the rest of my life and say life is unfair. I'm going to realize life is unfair, but I'm going to use that as leverage. I'm not going to sit in self-pity and sadness and be mad at the world for the rest of my life. That's not going to get me anywhere. That's not going to get me where I want to go in life. And by knowing that life isn't fair, you will be able to face any setback that is thrown at you. Why? Because you know this. 1, someone else has faced what you're going through and they've gotten through it. We aren't the first people on the earth. We won't be the last people on the earth. Someone in history has gone through what you've been through, and they have gotten through it. So I challenge you to be able to have the courage and the faith to believe that, yes, life isn't fair, but someone else has gone through it, so I can too. And number 2, because with this unfairness that is being thrown at you, you will get through it, and it will make you better. That unfairness, like the quote says, sometimes the bad things that happen in our lives put us directly on the path of the best things that will ever happen to us. Thank you.